Reverend Bonnie Anderson. Reverend Bonnie comes to us from the road. She and her beautiful husband, Andy, are traveling, making music, and delivering inspiring messages around the countryside. So it's a great pleasure that you decide to land with us today. Reverend Bonnie's been a minister for some 15 years at Centers for Spiritual Living. And she says that they live in Roseboro, Oregon, which is their sanctuary when they're not on the road. So Reverend Bonnie, I'm so pleased that you're here with us today. The podium is yours. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Andy and I are so privileged to be here this morning. We've been friends with Reverend Pat, Dr. Pat, for years, and we know Dr. Carol Carnes, and we met Amy a couple of years ago, and we're just blown away by her incredible music. And so we feel like we've been here before. And it's no accident that Andy sang that wonderful song, The River of Life, because I asked him to sing it because that's the name of my talk. It's one of the wonderful things about having a musician husband, that we can just weave everything together. And I just love that song because we live in Oregon on the North Umpqua River. And it runs right through our property, and it's very beautiful. I've learned so much by sitting on that river, and I'm sure that Andy was inspired to write that song by sitting on that river. It's just, you know, when you sit in nature and you just open up to the lessons, they pour through. And the river of life, the river, any river, it's just always flowing. It never ceases. It flows and flows. And you can hear the river at our house in some rapids that goes through. And no matter how long I'm away from home, I come home and I hear that wonderful sound of the river flowing. If I wake up in the middle of the night and I can't get to sleep, I go out on the deck and I hear the sound of the river. It's always flowing. And the river is also always changing. It's always changing. It's never the same. In the winter, when the rains come, it's just a torrent. It's like got white caps in it. It flows through. It has large logs that flow down the river. It's an amazing thing to see. And yet it's the same river. Just, it never stays the same. But I know that down deep, even when it's very turbulent on the surface, if you go down deep to the bottom of the river where the gravel is, there's a spot where the salmon rest before they jump upstream. And that spot, it's always quiet, always still. No matter how fast the river is moving, you can find that sweet, deep spot in the river. It's just like the sweet spot that's in us when we become quiet and listen. That place that's deep, that's so deep. Deep calls to deep. So how did we end up here in Calgary? How did we end up traveling around? Well, I'm going to tell you a little story about how our life has changed and evolved. And we were ministers. We started out in the Fremont, California church, and that's where we studied and became ministers. And I was the youth minister, and Andy was the minister of music, and he started a choir there, and it was wonderful, and we loved it, and our family lives there. And then after a while, we started feeling like we needed to expand, we needed to do something more, but we didn't know what. We just planted the seed that it's time to do more. Like, did you ever buy a plant from the nursery and take it home and find out it's root bound? Because all those roots are packed in there. It's like the plant looks healthy, it's green, there might be flowers on it, it looks wonderful, but then you take the pot off and the roots are all wrapped around each other tight. And if you left it in that pot too long, it would wither and die because it couldn't get nutrients with all the roots packed in. And then I bought one recently, it was like that, and when I took it out of the pot and loosened the roots up and put it in the ground, I could just feel that plant going, now I have room to move. I have room to stretch and move. And sometimes our lives are like that. We get root bound in the same place. We get tight and we don't realize it. It gets a little more uncomfortable. But it's kind of scary to get out of that pot because we don't know what will happen when it changes. But it's sort of that's sort of what happened to Reverend Andy and I. We felt root bound. We didn't really know it, but change was brewing. We were calling in change. And so just a couple months later, we found out about a church in Roseburg, Oregon, which is a very small town in Oregon. And we heard that the minister there was retiring. And we thought, oh, we love that area. It's so beautiful. We went camping once and camped on the North Umpqua River. So we said, well, let's go check it out. We'll never do it, but let's check it out. So we candidated and went to Roseburg, and we loved the community, and we loved the people, and they loved us. So we ended up saying yes. And once we said, and the first thing they asked us, before they even had a vote, they said, how long would it take you to sell your house and move here? So we don't know if we want to do that, but it was big changes. So once we said yes and decided, in 2.5 weeks, we sold our house in California and bought a house in Oregon. It just, when you decide, Spirit just flows and just sets everything up for you. And that we were terrified. I'm not saying it was easy. We were scared to death that we were making the wrong decision. And the people, some of our friends were thinking we were crazy, and our kids and my sister, but they were really surprised too. But we did it, and we ended up buying a beautiful home, our dream home, our sanctuary on that same river that we camped on. We made a list of what we wanted in a house, and we ended up getting that, and it's a sanctuary. We've had many ministers come through there, many ministers and musicians come through and stay with us on that I-5 corridor going up, if you're familiar with that, going up from California all the way to Washington. And nature has always been my teacher. Nature is such a powerful teacher. And when you surrender to a big dream, we ended up at that church in Roseburg, serving at that church for 7 years. And many times out on the river, when I was confused or upset or afraid, I would go out on the river and just meditate and just sit there. But we served for 7 years, and we had a crisis in our life. Our young son's wife was suddenly killed in an automobile accident, leaving our grandsons 2 and 4 years old, and it shook us up. When something like that happens in your life, you look at everything differently because you realize how quickly life can change. You better do what you love because life can change like that. It shook us up. And I heard her saying to me, Mom, do what you love. Do what you really love. So we had to have a conversation. We started talking about it. Do we love this? We did love it. We did, but it was time to move. It had been 7 years, and we felt we wanted freedom. We wanted to be able to travel. We wanted to be able to see the beautiful places in the country or in Canada, like we were just up in your beautiful Rockies. Oh my goodness, just spectacular. This is what we wanted to do. So we left, and again, a lot of people were confused and unhappy with us because when you make a big change in your life, not everyone understands. And when you're root bound, it doesn't mean you have to change your job or your relationship or where you live, but sometimes you do. To live your truth, to let your roots branch out. And only you know when it's that time. So I was talking about nature being such a great teacher for me. And I just recently read an article in Time magazine of all the things that nature provides. If you spend some time in nature every day, even on the grass or under a tree, it'll lower your blood pressure. It reduces anxiety and depression. It even gives an opportunity for cancer-fighting cells to grow. Just sitting out in the park, you have some beautiful ones here. But the thing that mainstream magazine said that surprised me was it lets you get in touch with a feeling of awe, of a power, that there's a power greater than yourself. Awe. Some really good friends of ours, Lisa Ferraro and Etika Luckett, two New Thought musicians, wrote a song about awe. And they had these wonderful t-shirts made up that said, if you're not in awe, you're not paying attention. If you're not in awe, you're not paying attention. And what greater way to experience awe than in nature? So we drove up from Roseburg, Oregon, and here we're talking about the River of Life. We didn't even realize it till we got here that almost the whole trip of driving, there was a river. We were following a river. We followed the North Umpqua River. We went into Idaho and followed the Snake River. The landscape was totally different, high desert, but there was the river. And then we went into Wyoming and another river and lakes, and we stumbled across this out in the middle of nowhere. There's a garden of 1,000 Buddhas in the middle of this little town. They don't even advertise it. Someone told us about it. And so we went there, and here are these hundreds of pristine white Buddha sculptures all down this long lines that came together in a large shrine. So here are people in the middle of nowhere in Wyoming working for peace. Teaching peace, meditating for peace. Then we continued on our trip, and then we got into Canada and British Columbia and Alberta with the beautiful mountains, and we just spent 3 days in Canmore and went to places that were on my bucket list, Banff and Lake Louise, and we just were in awe the entire time of the beauty. One of the things it reminded me is that the diversity of our earth, the diversity, how can Spirit want us to all be the same color, the same sexual orientation, the same thoughts, the same ideas, when you look at this earth and it's so incredibly different, from the mountains to the desert, all of the beauty, and it's all so different. It's such a wonderful example for us, that diversity, and is what Spirit loves, diversity, because the earth is created as a diverse, and we're all one. We teach that in this teaching that we're all one, but we're all unique beings. We're all unique and different and diverse, and it's a wonderful, rich thing. I had the opportunity to spend the day with Jean Houston a couple of weeks ago in Ashland, Oregon, a wonderful place. And if you know, she's a spiritual teacher who's written many books. She's very funny. She's absolutely wonderful. And she was talking about the state of our planet now, and that she said that right now nothing is hidden. Everything is coming up, including fears. Everything's being shaken up and coming forth. And it's because we need a new, larger story on this earth. We need a bigger story. Michael Beckwith, I was listening to him, one of his services online the other day at Agape, and he said, it's easy to become prey to those who say, follow me, I'll keep you safe, when we become afraid. But when we remember that it's a bigger story we're looking for, we're not going to go back into the pod again to stay safe. It's impossible. We need to connect with the inner part of ourselves that has all the answers in it. And there are people teaching fear right now. There are a lot of people. You may have a friend who talks about all the things that could happen. You may do that. I used to. I could tell you all the things that could possibly go wrong in your life and in my life. My mom was a great teacher. I remember visiting there in Michigan once, and shortly after we arrived, she sat down and she said, when you go home in 2 weeks, there might be a flash flood on the way to the airport. So we better be careful and leave on time, because if you missed your flight, and I was sitting there going, oh yeah, and then I went, wait a minute. We learn that, right, to not concentrate on the fears, to not blow up the fears, because when you start thinking about what you could be afraid of, life becomes terrifying. But we remember to go. That's why it's so important now, always, but I think even now more than ever, to do our spiritual practices. If you don't meditate, sit quietly for 5 minutes every day. Begin that way. And affirmative prayer or treatment, visioning, just to go within to that sweet, still spot where all the answers are. Because we need to redefine power. Power is not outside of us, in our governments or in our cities. Power is within us. We need a new kind of power, a power that comes from the inside out. Jean Houston said, when you find the power within yourself and the power within each other, you have the power together to change anything. When we find that power within us and within each other, in like-minded people like this, when you come together with people that are like-minded, that don't think you're crazy when you talk about good things, that don't think you're crazy when you want to make changes in your life, that you feel that your inner being is telling you to make. Ernest Holmes said, never limit your view of life by any past experience. Excuse me. Never limit your view of life by any past experience. Because we start new every day. We make new choices. And when we go within and listen to that inner wisdom, we remember. We change our perspective and go from fear to faith. We remember that everything is possible. Andy and I are now, life isn't always wonderful, I'll tell you that, but last Sunday we spoke in Boise, Idaho to a wonderful group of people. Today we're here. In September we go to Provincetown, Massachusetts, Cape Cod to do an inspiration weekend. End of September. We're going to be with Amy in Eugene, Oregon in September for a New Thought conference. And we get to travel around and see the beauty and the diversity that is this planet. And so I remember to go back to the river of life. The river of life that followed us all the way up here. To remember there is that sweet, still spot. Could you just give me a couple of, I don't have much time, but just a couple of lines off that river. And go within and let nature be your teacher. Let your heart be your teacher.
Said I'll be alright, flowing with the river of life. Said I'll be alright, flowing with the river of life. Said I'll be alright now, 'cause I'm flowing with the river of life. Said I'll be alright right now, 'cause someone will love.
all the power in the world is within you, in the love in you. Thank you for being here this morning.